And if I read one more book that is marketed as enemies to lovers, and there are, in fact, no enemies, no lovers on page, I'm gonna scream. Hey baby, it's Aisha, and this is Aisha's Makeup Corner, where we talk all things makeup, books, pop culture, and any of my current fixations, to be honest. Whatever's on my mind, on my heart, I'm going to be talking about it all in the corner of my room. And today, I want to introduce to you my love of books. I want to talk books, a little bit of lore about me. I've been writing poems since I was 12 years old. I'm a writing and performance poet. I am an educator, so I teach people about poetry, and I lead poetry workshops. I read for fun, I write for fun. It's always been a safe space to escape into, but also just been like my way of creating and expressing myself for the longest time. Now, before we get into the books, you must be wondering, Aisha, wait. You can't even focus on what you're saying about your books or whatever. Because look at your face. You look gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous, stunning, beautiful, ethereal. Oh, how could I focus on your books and your critique and your review when you look like this? I need answers. I demand answers. Clearly, that's what you're thinking. Well, guess what? This look is already uploaded, already available for your viewing pleasure on my TikTok. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I am nothing if not a giver. My ears to the streets, I know what the people want. If you're interested in this look, if you need blush details, how did I perfect this smoky eye? Head on over, head on over. I go in depth. It's for free 99, mind you. Go on. First, finish this video though, because I must get to these books. I must. We have to engage critically. We have a literacy crisis in the U.S. When first of all, what is that statistic? 24% of adults are functionally illiterate. Functionally illiterate meaning they do not know how to read above a fifth grade level. When I read that statistic, oh, I was scared. I was scared. Do you hear that? Those are my knees clicking together. My shivers are timbered. My timbers are shivered. Shiver me timbers. My timbers are shivered. Did you see that? Did you see how I worked that verbiage and phrasing in my head all on my own? Mm-hmm. Some of us can't do that, right? So stay in this video so we can practice literacy together and then go watch my makeup tutorial. Thank you. So where do I start? Let's talk about my book goals. I know it's September, so I'm kind of bringing y'all into the fold late, but I have book goals every year. So because I'm a poet, mainly what I read is poetry collections, lyric. I love essays and I love memoirs. So pre 2022, I didn't really dabble in any other form or content. And I was getting my master's degree in creative writing. So the majority of the things that I was reading were other poetry collections, other poets. One, trying to just gain perspective on like what other people were releasing and what other poets I was in conversation with, as well as reading and writing other people's work to then create my own manuscript and poetry collection. Maybe one day you'll be reading my poetry because there is a manuscript in the works. Have I been submitting? Yes. Have anybody taken my submissions? No. In that vein, I realized I wasn't really consuming any other books in any other genres unless somebody gifted me something and then I would end up reading it and being like, oh, I really, really like that book. So in the beginning of 2023, I decided to go on a book journey. My book journey was going to be simple and it was going to be focused on expanding my taste. With that, I only have three goals that I set at the top of every year. One, I got to read 100 books. I remember in elementary school and a little bit of middle school, we would do a 100-day book club. The whole grade would be challenged to read 100 books. At the end of a select time, you would join the 100 book club. And you would get like a pin, you would get like a sash, your name would be like on this roster. It was very VIP, very exclusive, very, you not even on my side of the club. Very, you can't even get in. It was competitive because different classes would go against each other, and whichever class won or whichever class had the most readers would get like a party or a cake, or like they would get to go to a water park. And I told you this in the last video, I have a competitive spirit. I do. Maybe it's because I was the middle child. Maybe it was because I grew up as a fat black girl. Maybe it's because I'm an Aries. Who knows? I don't like to lose. Now, am I a sore loser? Absolutely not. I never care that much. But I do like to win. Who I was reading with a fierceness. I was reading with a quickness. Not no little books. I wasn't reading no little. I was reading Percy Jackson. I was reading The Click, things like Hugo, The Giver, The Diaries of a Part-Time Indian. Okay, Wonder. I was in my bag. What's that John Green book? I mean, that wasn't really that good, but I was reading it. I was reading it. I was reading The Roundhouse. That book tore me up. I was reading. So, as a 26-year-old, I have to honor the 9-year-old that I was. I have to. I have to. I have to. She paved the road for me. She crawled so I may fly. Yes, I'm reading 100 books each year. In 2023, I don't think I met that goal, but I was pretty close. In 2024, I read about 108 to 110 books, and a couple of them were rereads, though, like Toni Morrison and Audre Lorde. And then this year, it is September, but I'm about at 87 to 89 books, so I'll definitely finish out the year over 100. So, goal one of my reading journey is complete. Now, goal two is a little more elusive. I am not a romance reader, though I love romance. I love romance. How do I experience romance if not in books? I don't really watch TV. I'm not much of a TV girl. I don't watch dramas that much. Fatima, my older sister, has tried to get me in K dramas again and again and again. I have a very short attention span, but not in the way that you think. My attention span is only tested when it comes to TV because my body is not able to do something. You have to sit and watch TV. I don't like sitting and having to do that. I don't like that. And a lot of adult media tends to be over an hour long. Think Criminal Minds, Scandal. I am currently watching Burn Notice though. That was good TV. I watch a lot of anime, one because it's short, two because I'm an artist and I love watching anime for their art style and animation, and then three, it's just good and it's short. I do have to sit though because I obviously do not speak Japanese. And I need them subtitles and I be reading them subtitles, but I think that's a different kind of engagement. Okay, we'll get back to that. Back to the question. Back first of all, sorry. See, tangent. Back to the question. How do I consume my romance? One of the ways that I consume romance is one of the ways that I was consuming romance, true yearning, was through Tumblr and AO3. I don't want to get into my Tumblr and AO3 era, but just know that I read some of the most gut wrenching, inspiring, just devastating fan fiction on that app. And these people were giving us these stories for free. And if you know anything about AO3, the girls are writing epics. The girls are writing literally Socrates, Odysseus, all them. They've been silent since the girls put fingers to keys and started writing. Were y'all on AO3? What generation is on AO3 now? I would love to know more about what AO3 looks like right now. One of the things that I always remember about AO3, whenever them niggas needed some money, I've never seen motherfuckers fundraise money quicker. AO3, I don't know. People don't play about AO3. So that is where my standard of romance comes. My goal is to find a romance novel that is published. Love you, AO3 writers, but you are not traditionally published. That is published, that is just as inspiring and gut wrenching and beautifully written and detailed and has a plot. I want that feeling in a book that I can hold. Now, do you think I've accomplished that in the 3 years that I've set out on this journey? No, no. Now, do I think I'm coming close? Yes, and I think it is the current series that I'm reading right now. I'll get to that. But I've read many a books. The amount of books that I've read is probably in the thousands. I've read many a books, and I've read fan favorites. I've read Oprah's favorites. I've read Obama's favorites. I've read TikTok sensations, bestsellers. But they're not doing romance. They are not doing romance. You know what they're doing? Erotica. You know what they're selling? Sex. They're not selling romance, desperation, yearning, obsession. And when they are selling obsession, it's a little too speaky for me. I don't need my romance dark. And y'all's dark? Y'all's dark? I think the word is demonic. I think the word you're looking for is demonic now. I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but I do have questions about what y'all is eating. because it don't look good, and I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm spooked. I don't like it. I don't like it because when did dark romance become about dehumanization? There's literally no love. There's literally no love, but there's always sex. How about that? I don't mean to be, and I want to make something abundantly clear. I am no prude. This is not about shame. You read what you want, the what you bought with your money. However, however, don't sell it to me as romance. Do not sell it to me as a romance. Ugh, how dare you? How dare you lie? How dare you lie? What we will do on this channel is that we will critique books. Yes, these critiques come from my opinion, but they will be a critique. They won't just be, oh, I just didn't like it. No, we're gonna get into the nitty gritty. I usually in my romance divide my critique into three columns. The first column being prose. So this is literally how the book is written. How are they using enjambments? How are they using punctuation? What words do the author like rely on? How the words look on the page? How does it read? Like what was the reading experience with the literal words? Then my second column is obviously romance. How do I feel about the romance? How do I feel about the two characters or more? We'll get into that got together. How do I feel about the storytelling of their love story? Did they fall in love by chapter 3, or did this one chapter kind of set into motion the romantic relationship? Was it enemies to lovers, and did it actually give enemies so the lovers actually feels like, oh, it was hard fought and hard won or whatever? Then the last one is the literal plot around the story. Is the plot just romance? And if it is, was the romance good? Is there more? So is it a romantasy, a romance fantasy? And is it equal parts fantasy and romance? Or is it heavy on the romance, light on the fantasy, heavy on the fantasy, light on the romance? There are a couple books that come to mind where I kind of did enjoy how they came together. One of the ones that I'm thinking about is When the Moon Hatched. Really like the fantasy and the world building. And I actually thought that the romance kind of did something for me. I did like that man. I did. So I was like, you know what? I can kind of see it. Between friends and lovers, I was like, ooh, the drama in this one. But then the like adoration that these characters had for one another, while also kind of building their own wants and needs as individual people, and then how they were with each other. I was like, okay, but it didn't sell me. It didn't really sell me. Now the book that I'll be talking about with y'all later is Burn for Me. Now that might get me. Mind you, they're not even together by the end of the book. No spoiler. Well, that was a spoiler. That was a spoiler. Ignore that. I said that. But they don't end up together. And it pushes, and the cliffhanger was so good, so good. So it pushed me to start reading the next book. I'm reading the next book right now. That man wants her so bad. It's not funny. And I like that. And I like that. And I like that. This might also just be the best romance fantasy I've read. And I know that's a big claim. That's a big claim. But Burn for Me and White Hot, y'all are doing something to me. And there's another book in the series. Usually, honestly, by that second book, I'm like, the series should have ended right here. But this one, I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. So yeah, when it comes to romance, I might be a harsh critic, but what y'all are selling to me, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I use Storygraph to document all of my books. If you want to follow me on there, I am Isha Reads Books, and I love their system so much. If you want a video on like all of the different like apps that I use to like document my books, because I was using Goodreads, girl, to her old ass. I hate that interface so bad. Like you haven't changed nothing since like 2011, since me and my mama was using Yellow Pages, since we were using MapQuest. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. I use Fable too, but they did some weird AI mess. I didn't like that either. But their interface is very cutesy, so I did keep it. I use Hoopla, Libby, Everann for like my audiobooks and listening. So if you want a whole detailed thing on like how I keep my books together, I will happily make that video. But I use Storygraph to document my books, and my tags, I'm very serious about my tags. I'm very serious with how I tag my books. For reference, I only have 14 books that are like my absolute favorite books, but I have 45 books that are just okay. And I have over 100 books that are boring. Friends, I don't play around. So the tags also help me bolster my memory. It like brings me back to when I read that book and I was like, oh, that was terrible. I didn't like that. I have a tag on here that is y'all lied about this on TikTok because I come to find out that y'all are liars. Y'all like to lie. I don't know why, but y'all like to lie. I'm just gonna list out a bunch of books that weren't really that good. Icebreaker, y'all lied about that. That book was not good. The Zodiac Academy, that whole thing. First of all, the thoughts and feelings that I had about that first book and the time that I will never get back because of reading it. And it wasn't so bad that it was good. It was just bad. And y'all lied. Y'all wasted my time. Powerless, y'all lied about that. Carnival, y'all lied about that. Um, of Court of Thorn and Roses, it was just a really bad Beauty and the Beast. I was very confused about why that was getting hyped up. Lights Out and its little sister, caught up. Caught actually, you know what I will say? Lights Out was in my, you know what, hell yeah. Cause that was actually, see, there we go. Lights Out was so bad that it was good. Zodiac Academy was just bad. Caught Up was just boring. It was just lazy and boring. These are my thoughts. These are my opinions. I have the review, the knowledge, the language to back up those opinions. Right, right. So with romance, that goal is just eluding me because every time I think I might get there, every time I open a book with the hopes that I might just get a whirlwind romance that sweeps me off my feet, there's always a man that ruins it. And what we have to realize to have sex with somebody, finding somebody attractive is not, it's just not romance. It can't all be the romance. I hate when the girl's POV is like his lashes were so long and his eyes were so brown and he put his jacket over me when we were walking in the rain. And then his POV is the next chapter and it's literally like, ugh, the way she cried made me hard. Are you okay? I don't like stuff like that. I don't like stuff like that. I don't like stuff like that. The problem with me though is that I read bad books. I read bad books because that's a part of literacy too. To look at something and be like, I read you in your entirety. I held you and I held you and you took my time and you were bad. I do. I hate DNFing books. I do. Is that a part of my competitive streak? Maybe, but that's my business. It actually really is my business. I'll take the L to the chin. I probably have like 10 books that I didn't finish maybe in my lifetime. I don't like DNFing books. You have to be a particularly bad brand of bad actually for me to DNF a book. As assistant to the villain. It wasn't bad. It was just terribly boring. And I kept renewing the book at the library. I was like, I'm not gonna finish this. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I didn't DNF it. I just put it on pause. I will return to it. It was just kind of boring. A Soul to Heal. I read the first book. I did. I did read the first book. You know, I'm not mad at the monster fucking. It was the accidental non-con pregnancy that really, I, I don't know. Out of malice, I have nothing nice to say. Now, my last goal. My last goal. After all of that, what is my last goal? My last goal is to explore a genre that I have not explored. And that's been pretty easy because I've just been trying to look at books and looking at their tropes and their tags and being like, oh, I usually would never read this. I've been reading a lot of historical novels. I've been reading a lot of like sci fi. Um, I've also been reading a lot about surrealism and magic realism, which are books that I wouldn't usually read. I read Tender is the Flesh, and the other book from that author, The Unworthy. Okay, okay. Once again, books that I usually would not read, but here we are. This goal has been really, really nice because I do believe in expanding my taste. One of the rules that I set for myself just in life is that I will try everything once within reason, and that goes for food, that goes for roller coasters, that goes for activities, and that definitely goes for books. And I love to judge a book by its cover. I do. I love a pretty book, and I'm gonna read a pretty book. Something to also know about me: I do not read summaries. I do not read summaries. I go into reading experiences unknowing and unseeing. Vibes only. I got a book cover and a dream. That's what I go in every single book because sometimes I think summaries are poorly written. Sometimes, do you ever read a summary and you're like, that doesn't really sound good, but the book is good? Or you read the book first, you're like, I really enjoyed this. And then you read the summary and you're like, this is terrible. This is terrible. And it has nothing to do with the book. I don't want to be tainted by the possibility of a bad summary. So I forgo it. Now, does that set me up for some wild shit? Yes. Imagine my shock when I read I just finished reading Eat the Ones You Love. I'm just seeing these big old eyes and the orchid. I love orchids. I'm like, okay, okay. And then I heard it was sapphic. I was like, oh, botanists, lesbians, or something. I was like 20% correct on that front. And it wasn't really that good. I give it like a 2.75 by the end of it. It was just okay. So once again, wanting to reiterate that my goal for the end of the year is to read 100 books, which I'm pretty sure I'm well on my way. My goal is to find a romance that is toe curlingly good. And I I might succeed. Maybe. We do have some contenders, but I don't think they'll take the crowd, but I might succeed. And then my last one is a goal that I've already accomplished, which is reading outside of my genre. I'm interested to see at the end of the year how many different genres I read. So yeah, I'm trying to keep this video cute, so I won't keep you, but I could go on and on about books, and I plan to. I'll probably do, what were my books of the months, my highs and lows. I was specifically thinking about going through like my worst of the worst when it comes to like TikTok favorites and TikTok sensations and what I made out of them. I also read a lot of audiobooks. I don't like to distracted driving, so I feel like when I listen to an audiobook, I'm kind of able to like focus better on the road. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks while I'm driving to and from work. I also have a Kindle, and I mentioned this in my last video that I feel like reading traditionally, listening to audiobooks, and then also reading digital books have helped me read more often and dedicate more time to reading, which I really, really love and appreciate. But let me know what you think. Are y'all romance readers? Do you like romance? If you do like romance, put like a red rose in the comments. And if you don't, what are the genres that you're usually reaching for, that you usually read? I'll definitely share some of my poetry favorites, poetry collections that I really love and adore so much, and also why I just gravitate to poetry as a person. I just feel like it's a language of the artist. Like I feel like it is the language of my most like honest self. So whenever I'm reading poetry or writing my own poetry, I just feel so at peace. I think that's it, folks. More to come on books. I'm going to bring you on to my journey of finishing out this year. I'm reading, what I'm looking forward to reading by the end of the year. I've been pretty good at working through my TBR. I've been very, very, very proud of myself. I realize when I make a smaller TBR list, it's more likely to get done. So that's a hack if you need it. I'll give you a little taste of what we're going to be talking about next time. It is this book, and you can figure out what they have in relationship with one another. I'm gonna let you know right now, you're probably not gonna be able to figure it out. So it's for me to know and for you to find out. Okay, bye.